Good morning and happy hump day, fellow traders. Hope everyone had a great afternoon, a great evening, ready for another wild and crazy day in the market where we're expecting the Mac Daddy of earnings reports here, the Super Bowl of earnings reports later this afternoon when NVIDIA reports. How about we take a look at what happened overnight? First off, if we take a look at Asian markets were mostly higher last night. South Korea was up, India was up, Hong Kong was up. Mostly modestly, though, 0.21%. Shanghai was up 0.66%, while Australia was down 0.57%, and the Nikkei was down 0.16% after some of their data disappointed in Japan. When we take a look at European markets this morning, remember Europe closed red across the board yesterday with the threats, of course, of what's going on in the Ukraine, pretty serious situation there. And what we've got going this morning here is we've got the DAX up 0.22%, the FTSE down 0.45%, and the CAC up 0.04%. So very small, modest gains or losses in Europe this morning. If we take a look at U.S. markets, we've got the Dow futures moving up here this morning, but it has lost a little bit of ground from earlier reads. We've got a 79% gain at the moment of 0.18%. S&P 500 futures up 6 points at 0.10%. And NASDAQ futures up 25 points at 0.12%. If we were to take a look at our bonds this morning, our bonds are causing us a little bit of trouble here. We have the 2-year bonds coming in at 4.30% on the rise here this morning. 10-year bonds are up to 4.42%. And the 30-year bonds are pushing 4.61% here at the moment. So a little bit of pressure there. Let's take a look at the oil market. If we look at XLE, these oil producer stocks continuing to hold in there and just look pretty darn good. We'll just have to keep an eye on that as we progress here in the market. But as you can see, a little bit of activity going on here this morning, trying to push to the upside. If we take a look at oil futures here this morning, oil futures right now are up at $69.62 a barrel. That's 37 cents higher here this morning. $69.62 a barrel. I think that's what I said. Brent is also up a whopping 16 cents at 73.74 a barrel. We've got natural gas showing some bullishness here this morning. UNG really starting to power up here, up over 10 cents, almost 11 cents here on natural gas. So maybe holding in here on this lower high. Might want to be keeping an eye on that. When we look at those precious metals in here today, gold has had a couple of days of really nice gains, but right now this morning just flat on the day. As a matter of fact, gold futures are only down 60 cents an ounce. Silver is also showing just a little bit of a decline this morning, a little bit stronger on it. Copper, we take a look at COPX, it's just a little bit higher. This has been trying to put in a little bit of a bottom. We've got platinum and palladium also lower here this morning. If we take a look at crypto here today, well, Bitcoin just continues on its run. It is just remarkable, the stretch that's going on here in Bitcoin. But right now we've got Bitcoin up $618 a coin. Ether, however, is down $7.78 a coin. and some mix in those crypto this morning. If we take a look at the US dollar is also gaining strength here today. At the moment, dollar futures are up more than 50 cents. So keep an eye on that as we continue to see those bonds rise and the pesky dollar get stronger and stronger and stronger. Let's take a look. Let's see. I think that covered everything. So how about we settle in? We'll buckle up and let's get ready for the Wednesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these charts, index charts, see if we can gain a little bit of information about how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to shake off that bias, look at the charts for what they are, not for what we would like them to be. Well, first thing this morning, what we can see is yesterday we did drop down below the support in the chart, and that raises a little bit of concern. Anytime support has been broken, then we start to see that potential where we've lost a little bit of that upside momentum. Although we did push back up here yesterday, now the next question is going to be, if those bulls can continue to push, can they really get anything going? I'm going to be looking at an area right up in here. We're going to need to break through that. Notice there's a gap in here. If we can see those bulls start to push on up, watch this area up in here, and of course as they push up, we've got to remember that we kind of gave up this upside trend. So up in this area there could be some resistance in that chart, and that'll be the test for the bulls. Can they break through there? And certainly with the NVIDIA reports, and now NVIDIA also included in the Dow, if NVIDIA reports well, you could easily see that occurring today. On the other hand, if NVIDIA happens to disappoint, and there is some concern that NVIDIA may be a little bit high priced for what it can actually produce, we shall see. But if that were the case and NVIDIA were to pull back, well, obviously that could have negative impacts on not only the diamonds now, but also the SPY and the QQQ. If we take a look at the bearish side of this, I'm going to look right here for a little bit of price support. If the bears find inspiration today and push back, we want to see that tested and hold in that chart. If the bears do break back down through there, then I would be looking for a retest of yesterday's low, and then possibly even we would start pushing on down and might even look at a gap fill. Now, if that were the case, to fill this big gap, it's going to get pretty painful, and we could see some big point moves if that were the case. If we take a look at our SPY, SPY in here, probably the most bullish of the charts in the indexes right now, because we held this price support here, as you can see. No failure of that price support, and the question at this point, will we be able to continue to push this on up? Notice we even broke into this gap that created this island up here in SPY. So if they can push up there and maybe fill that gap up in here, and you can see we're trying to push up this morning, we might push right up in here into this resistance area of the chart. Now, getting through that is going to be critical, because if we can pop on through, then I think we have that every reason to believe we could test all-time highs and maybe even new record highs on that NVIDIA report. Of course, the other hand on this is if the bears find any inspiration and we push down, then I would look for a retest of this support, and of course breaking below there creates some serious concerns probably for the market. And remember, there's reason for that as well. Beyond NVIDIA, the United States has closed the embassy in Kiev. We have apparently intelligence of a major airstrike pending from Russia in retaliation to their long-range missiles. And obviously there are serious potential implications since Putin at this point says nuclear weapons are now an option for them. So kind of keep an eye on that. I think if he even uses a tactical nuclear weapon, I would suspect the market to react very negatively to that. Now, if we take a look at our QQQ also rallying back up, but I'm going to call this the most bearish of the indexes out there at the moment. Even though we've got NVIDIA coming in here, we did break this support, and that rally back up really didn't accomplish a whole lot yesterday. It is a bullish engulfing candle, but you'll notice we still have that gap in here and that island up above, yet needing to be filled. Now, of course, an NVIDIA report could do that in about half a heartbeat, and we could be then threatening to push back up here to test all-time highs in the QQQ. Of course, if NVIDIA or something in the Ukraine were to become more serious, then we would watch for this right here, a hold of this support. If those bears have anything to say, and if they were to push on lower in here, that's where we could get into a little bit of trouble. First, the low of that big candle being tested, and then of course we might push on down here to the Monday low in the chart. Beyond that point, you can see we got a little bit more space in here to completely fill the gap on the QQQ, and that might raise some concerns in here because that's creating this potential lower high in the index. And then if we look at IWM had a good bounce back up yesterday, didn't quite make the gap fill, but you can see in here we're pushing back up maybe to retest this resistance in the chart. Remember, this resistance line goes back to some of those tops in 2021, and we might test that here today, and if we can pop on through, then we have that chance in here. We might hold and then see if we can get back up here and test that recent high resistance. We have still to make an all-time high breakout here in IWM. If those bears find any inspiration, a retest of yesterday's low would be likely, and then maybe we move all the way back down for a gap fill in the IWM if the bears get going. If we take a look at our VIX here yesterday, our VIX, well, it was interesting. As you can see, our VIX in here actually held higher print into the close. We closed up here in 16 handles. So although those bulls were coming in, there was uncertainty here in the VIX, raising a little bit of fear. So we'll still want to be keeping an eye on that. If the bulls can find inspiration here today, then we need to see that push back down and maybe break these candles right here and push down into this level of price support if they can get going. Of course, NVIDIA report after the bell could change a lot of things here really quick. Of course, an airstrike from Russia, massive airstrike, could also change things as well. If those bears find any inspiration today, maybe look for a retest of this push up here, see if we can retest that resistance in the chart. Now, breaking up through there, then we look for that opportunity that we could have a full gap fill in our VIX. Let's take a look at our T20s. Our T2122, although we pushed up yesterday, well, we ended up leaving behind this little hook here on NVIDIA, on T2122, which gives us that hint that maybe we just weren't all that bullish yesterday after all. If those bulls can find inspiration today, however, we certainly have plenty of upside opportunity for them to push through. If this little hook tells us that the bears might have something to say, if that's the case, we've opened a bigger opportunity for the pushback here on their part as well. So keep an eye on T2122. Our T2108, unfortunately yesterday, really didn't show us that we were all that bullish. As you can see here, T2108 barely improved, almost completely flat. Percentage of stocks above the 40-day moving average holding in there around 48. We're still below the 50%. Remember, we're continuing to move through this downtrend. We have resistance here right around 50%. So if those bulls can get something going today, maybe we can improve that by popping back up and moving back up to attack this downtrend. If the bears have anything to say, we've got some support levels in here that might hold us, and then we could drop on through down here to this area of price support in T2108. Percentage of stocks above the 40-day moving average didn't show an improvement yesterday. T2107, percentage of stocks above the 200-day, also didn't really show any improvement today, although we saw that big push in big tech, mostly led by hope and dreams in a great NVIDIA report. We also did not see any great moves here overall in these stocks. So we're holding here on a support. We're still well above 50%, so that's bullish. And if those bulls find inspiration, you'll notice we've got some resistance up here that we can attack, and the bears have some targets down here as well if the bears were to get going and start pushing down towards some of these levels. If we take a look at our T2101, the breadth of the market yesterday declined. So as we were pushing up, breadth was not following that. We actually had that decline in breadth, but it's not terrible. We're still holding on to that little upside trend. We've got some price support in there. So if we can get some breadth improvement today on a bullish move, that would relieve some pressure. If we continue to see this fade back on this bullish move, that's going to be a bit of a concern, so watch carefully for that. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. Well, you know what? Before we do that, we had better get to taking a look at our economic calendar here today. Our economic calendar, we don't have a whole lot on here except really a whole lot of Fed speak, but we do have mortgage applications that came out this morning. Let's take a look at that. Coming in at 1.7, just a slight increase here. Purchase index up 2 and refinance index up to 1.8, so a little bit of improvement there despite the rise in interest rates. Interesting. If we take a look here, we've got Atlanta Fit business inflation expectations that will be out this morning. We've got a petroleum status number to be paying attention to, and then after that it's bond auctions and mostly Fed speakers with Collins, Bose, Barr, or Bauman in here will be speaking today, with Cook also in there, so keep an eye on those. Looking forward into Thursday, we're going to get our bigger day here of the week. Jobless claims, Philly Fed. We've got some more Fed speak. Existing home sales will be in there. Leading indicators, quarterly services survey for tomorrow morning with, again, several Fed speakers, some bond auctions as normal. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar here for today. In our earnings calendar, we've got a few earnings to certainly be paying attention to. First off, for the pre-market or the morning reports, BERY will be reporting, so keep an eye on that. We've got DY reporting. GLBE will be reporting. Nice pop there going on. NIO will be reporting. SR reporting. Target will be in there. Ouch, that one hurt. Actually, Target missed a big miss on their earnings, falling hard here this morning, so keep an eye on that. You might want to keep an eye on some of the other retailers as well. TJ Maxx reporting today. Looks like it's trying to be just a little bit bullish. And Wix, nice pop in Wix this morning. They're feeling happy over there, so keep an eye on those. Those are the notables for this morning. Now this afternoon, CPA will be reporting. Jack will be in there. MMS, of course, the big guy NVIDIA. It's what everybody's hoping for, and we're almost at new record highs heading into that earnings report. Folks are willing to take an awful lot of risk on this earnings report. Palo Alto also reporting this afternoon. We've got snow in there, and we're going to hear from SQM this afternoon as well. So there's your notables for this afternoon. So how about we take a look at some of those stocks that could be setting up? But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. Thank you so much to everyone who does support the channel by clicking that thumbs up button and leaving a brief comment. That helps the channel to grow. Remember, even an emoji counts as you're moving or posting that emoji, your engagement with the video. So thank you everyone for taking the time to do that. I truly appreciate it. Let's take a look at a few of these stocks that could be setting up. Remember everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence, and you need to be looking very closely to follow your rules and your risk tolerance guidelines for every trade. You should never ever just blindly follow anyone else's trade ideas. So first off, one of the things I think we might want to be paying attention to here is take a look at PLTR. Now PLTR has been resting a few days, but I got to tell you, with the new tensions growing, anything that might be in the aerospace defense area would be something to pay attention to. Now, I know you're looking right here and saying software infrastructure. I get it, but PLTR is really nothing more than a defense contractor anymore, providing AI to the military. So keep an eye on this. PLTR could, in this resting consolidation with this conflict, particularly if an airstrike occurs, we might see some of these starting to pick back up here in the market. Now, we have certainly seen since the new administration election coming in, we have seen some easing here with the thought that the new administration will settle things down. I don't know. We'll want to watch this closely with this new conflict expansion. You might watch for this opportunity to this break out of this downtrend here, RTX. Just look for some of those aerospace trades here in the market. A few other places to take a look. Take a look at this TWLO. TWLO, very nice looking chart. Now this guy is really extended away from trend. It's gotten very steep, but notice this little resting pullback occurring in here. That may have to rest all the way out here to trend, but I would keep an eye on that for that next opportunity for that to push on higher here in the market. You might want to be taking a look at Humana. I really liking the way this chart is setting up. I placed a price alert on this, watching this right in here. As you can see, we've been consolidating in this area. Of course, we're slipping out from underneath this big downtrend. We'll want to be watching that carefully. If this finds that energy here today to pop on through, there may be some opportunities coming here in Humana. Take a look at ARK. ARKK, ARK Innovations, showing a bullish pattern in here, trying to push up. Now this is largely due to what's going on in Tesla, but keep an eye on that. Any rest consolidation in here might set up an entry to move on higher, and I wouldn't rule out the possibility this just goes right on up through here, and then you look for the rest or pullback for that opportunity in ARK. There are some stocks trying to come up out of, well, maybe some bottoms here. We've got Coke trying to come up here just a little bit yesterday. Now this is no way, shape, or form a buy unless you want to speculate on this support here in the chart. But what I would be looking for in this push would be a push up, some kind of a resting pullback, and then we might see that upside trend resume. So it's just something to put on your list to be keeping an eye on to see if we're going to start coming back around in those charts. Now I've got to continue to mention oil sector stocks. ExxonMobil, we've got this bearish move potentially happening today because the increase in the dollar value and the bond yields going sharply higher. But notice we're still in this consolidating range in here. So keep an eye on this. As we come back in here to trend, we might look for that opportunity for that to turn on up. Keep an eye on that. I'm going to say the same here for FANG. I've got a price alert on this. It's been a little bit volatile in here. Might need a little bit more rest out here toward the trend, but keep an eye on that if we can get anything bullish going here. Some of these stocks are really starting to set up and look pretty good. Take a look at CPNG. CPNG trying to get something going here. Remember, this guy having this lower high failure in here makes me consider the fact that although we're holding some support, any rally back here could set up the next move to the downside. So keep a close eye on that. However, if we look at CRWD, CRWD showing a very, very bullish pattern, breaking through some resistance here in the chart, but you want to remember this is reporting earnings here on the 26th, so there may be some upside move here in anticipation of that report, but I would watch that carefully as we come into that earnings report, remembering that this company had a major problem out there. There's some lawsuits and companies demanding some repayment kind of thing. So I would watch that carefully as this rallies up toward its earnings, and then you might want to step away from it for a little bit on that move. GBTC continuing to push on up here. Anything in these Bitcoin trusts, Bitcoin related areas, MicroStrategy, which is nothing more, really nothing more than a Bitcoin holding company now, really ripping to the upside. That BITO showing lots of potential strength, so keep an eye on those. I honestly would be careful here to not over trade those. I know they really want to push up there and catch 100,000 in Bitcoin, but watch carefully. We might make it up there and then see a pretty substantial pullback in those, so watch that carefully in those charts. Let's take a look at BMY. Now BMY looking really good here, holding some support in the chart. Any rest or pullback in here as we move back into trend, I think sets up an opportunity in that chart. And I wouldn't rule out that possibility of rest. We see that a lot in stocks where we get this early pop. We'll rise up, we'll pull back, we'll get a buy signal, a bullish candle, and then we end up just kind of fading back into the trend. You can see the same thing kind of occurred here, and we just fade back to the trend. So don't be too surprised this early pop in this, that we might just drift on back to the trend. But that certainly is a bullish chart, despite the fact we've got this new administration really starting to push some attacks, or will likely start pushing some attacks on our drug makers. So keep an eye on those. How about Bumble? Bumble continues to look pretty good. This resting pullback in here on that chart coming into this trend. I would keep an eye on this for that next opportunity to the upside. Could set up and look pretty darn good. So with that, everyone, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I hope your hump day is a great one. I hope it's profitable. You all take care, be safe. I'll see you right back here bright and early Thursday morning. Have a great day, everyone.